Good morning, everyone. My name is Pietro Antonio Vena, and I'm an independent scholar from the University of Turin. This is my presentation on natural climate solution from La Via Campesina for the 2022 conference of Yale International Society of Tropical Forests. La Via Campesina was founded in Belgium in 1993 in direct response to the Uruguay round of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. But it stems from a long history of agrarian movements, particularly in Latin America and Europe. Nowadays, it represents more than 200 million peasants from 164 different member organizations and 73 different countries. It has a grassroots nature, so it's very capillarily spread out across the regions where it is represented. And its platform sort of gives space to the innovative spirit and the sense of agency of the people who produce food and work in direct contact with the land. It has, La Via Campesina has introduced its own climate solution, which can be termed as a natural climate solution. So I would like to consider first and foremost what natural climate solutions are. They generally rely on the capacity of oceans, grasslands, and forests to absorb carbon. And they have been introduced in the UN Climate Action Summit in 2019 by a China and New Zealand-led coalition that sort of brought attention to the topic. What we know about it nowadays is that there are around 3 trillion trees on the planet, and they can store over 450 gigatons of carbon. We also know that there is space for 0.9 million hectares more of forests in land that is now currently degraded. So those forests could contribute to absorbing even more of the carbon that is now in the atmosphere. However, these new forestation projects sort of raise new interrogatives on whether there will be displacements of people caused by these new forests, and whether there will be an even distribution of forest across the global north and south of the planet. One of the two main pillars on which the climate solution of La Via Campesina rests is that of food sovereignty. Food sovereignty is sort of the concept, the key concept around which much of the La Via Campesina's works is based around, and it was introduced in April 1996 at the second international conference of La Via Campesina in Mexico, and was then introduced again the same year in November at the World Food Summit in Rome. It represents an alternative paradigm to food security, which is sort of based around the challenge of boosting food production for the increasing global population. Instead, food sovereignty takes a stand against the neoliberal and corporate food regime, as well as the developmental perspectives based on the inclusion of peasants in existing international food markets and frameworks, which generally entail the maximization of productivity and yield per every single plant or animal. Instead, food sovereignty gives priority to local markets, local networks of food production and distribution, as well as on fair prices for farmers, and the primacy of people's and communities' rights over the logics of trade. The second pillar on which La Via Campesina's climate solution rests is that of agroecology. Agroecology is an approach to agriculture that emerged across different countries of the global south in the 1970s, particularly in Mexico. And it sort of constitute a new novel approach to traditional methods and seeds of that have been used in agriculture since millennia. So it does not really constitute anything new, but it's simply a new perspective that sort of tends to reintegrate these traditional and indigenous approaches to food production. And as it emerged in the 70s, it sort of represented this intellectual challenge to the logics of the widespread Green Revolution, which tended instead to implement the high input, highly mechanized and high yield pattern of northern agriculture in countries of the global south. Agroecology instead emulates natural processes and aims to produce food in different layers of a food forest. That sort of helps to rethink societies as part of a natural landscape that can sustain them. So on one hand, we can see that agroecology makes use of mixed crop fields, while industrial food production makes use of monoculture. Agroecology makes use of traditional varieties and seeds, as well as socioeconomically sustainable labor, while industrial food production makes use of GMOs and exploitative labor practices. What concerns climate, La Via Campesina got involved in climate issues rather late. Only in 2013, it created its own internal collective on climate issues. And the motive has been from the very beginning to work on this nexus between food sovereignty, agroecology for cooling the planet. It also carried out works on forest climate migration, as well as displacement of peasants and indigenous people in relation to environmental services payment. This proposal of La Via Campesina constitutes sort of a new approach to food production that would rely more on local networks, and through the use of agroecology, it would be possible to absorb 2/3 of yearly greenhouse gases emissions, as well as providing a number of social, economic, and environmental benefits, according to a paper from McKeon from 2015. According to a different research from Ale from 2021, it would be instead only possible to reduce 1/3 of yearly emissions, up to 37% of total emissions per year. Interestingly, La Via Campesina did not take part in the 2021 UN Food Summit, as also part of a protest against its more corporate nature. But however, its proposed approach to emission drawdown was enshrined in UN documentation as part of the natural climate solutions. So in short, La Via Campesina sort of proposes to start relying a bit more on local networks of food production, food distribution, which would mean that part of the food production would also be brought back in urban contexts, not only as gardening and permaculture projects, but also as projects that can produce a massive amount of food for the local population, involving citizens of urban areas as well. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention, and feel free to reach out for any questions.